What I Say is a classic Ray Charles track that dropped in 1959 and pretty much changed the game. It actually started as an improvised jam during a gig when Ray and his band had time to kill after running through their whole set. The crowd went wild for it, so Ray decided to record it. The song's mix of gospel, R&B, and a bit of Latin rhythm, plus those risque lyrics, made it both a massive hit and a little controversial, especially back in the day. It's the song that really pushed Charles into mainstream pop and helped kick off the soul music movement. It earned him his first gold record and became a signature part of every live show he played after that. But not only was the song majorly successful on its own, but it went on to ultimately be the sort of forefather to many more songs that came afterward. But the song that really took What I Say to the next evolutionary level is Bobby Parker's Watch Your Step in 19... took a riff from Dizzy Gillespie and then mashed it up with the groove and energy of What I Say to create his song. He described it as a way of blending jazz and blues influences into something fresh. The end result was a track with a catchy driving riff that would go on to leave a huge lasting mark on rock music. Even though Watch Your Step only hit number 51, its impact went well beyond its chart success. Let's look at some of the other songs that found their way into existence by means of borrowing heavily from both of these songs. First off, the resemblance to Led Zeppelin's Moby Dick is pretty uncanny. Featured on their 1969 album Led Zeppelin II, it takes the riff and turns it into something entirely new. While it's primarily known for John Bonham's epic drum solo, which he would extend for upwards of 20 minutes during live shows, the guitar riff from Jimmy Page anchors the track. It's one of the few Led Zeppelin songs that features an extended instrumental section with no vocals, allowing Bonham to go wild. But the spirit of that bluesy riff is definitely still there, even though it has been transformed into Zeppelin's signature heavier, more bombastic style. The next song we'll look at is a cover song itself, yet it still manages to borrow heavily from Watch Your Step regardless. The Allman Brothers' version of One Way Out, most notably recorded live at the Fillmore East in 1971, became one of their signature tracks, and that same riff Parker used in Watch Your Step is right at the heart of it. The song was originally written and recorded by bluesman Elmore James, but the Allman Brothers took it to a whole new level with their hard-driving, jam-style blues rock. This live version is especially famous for its incredible guitar interplay between Duane Allman and Dickie Betts, making it one of the band's most iconic performances. And Deep Purple's Rat Bat Blue from their 1973 album Who Do We Think We Are also shows the influence of Parker's riff. While Deep Purple is probably best known for Smoke on the Water, Rat Bat Blue features a funky, bluesy groove that owes a lot to early R&B and blues tracks like Parker's. Although Rat Bat Blue might be even more noteworthy for its incredible organ work by John Lord, the main guitar riff undoubtedly drives the song in a way that nods back to those classic blues inspirations. And as a bonus of sorts, Rat Bat Blue didn't just pull inspiration from Bobby Parker's Watch Your Step, it ended up sparking creativity in another legendary rock band. Whitesnake's 1987 hit In the Still of the Night owes a debt to the riffing style found in Rat Bat Blue. Whitesnake frontman David Coverdale, who was also a member of Deep Purple in the 70s, carried that bluesy, hard-hitting vibe into his own music. In the Still of the Night features a powerful, blues-driven riff that echoes Deep Purple's earlier work, showing how these musical ideas kept evolving and passing through generations of rock, from Parker to Purple and beyond. At this point, I think it's safe to say that even if there were no other songs to mention that took inspiration from Watch Your Step, we would still be left with a very impressive list of songs. Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and Whitesnake are certainly no slouches when it comes to household names of popular classic rock bands. But such is not the case. In fact, there are certainly even more songs inspired than the ones I've mentioned so far, too many for me to cover in one video to be sure. So we'll conclude this foray into rock music history by discussing two songs that are arguably the most impressive and have had the widest impact on pop culture overall. Simply because the last two songs to talk about here are from the Beatles, the most influential rock band of all time. The Beatles' Day Tripper is said to have been influenced by the riff to Watch Your Step, and to my ears, it is certainly detectable in the song. But interestingly, there's another Beatles song that sounds even closer to the riff and was a #1 hit in the US and the UK. That song being I Feel Fine, of course. One of the coolest things about I Feel Fine is that it was one of the first rock songs to use guitar feedback on a recording, something that John Lennon accidentally discovered in the studio. That iconic buzzing note at the start of the song was a total accident, but it worked so well that they decided to keep it. Lennon later admitted that the riff was directly inspired by Parker's song, taking that infectious groove and making it their own. The song went on to top the charts in both the UK and US, showing just how much they could innovate with a simple riff. Ray Charles' What I Say didn't just blow up the charts, it inspired a whole new wave of musicians from Bobby Parker to the Beatles and countless others. By the late 50s, Ray had been in the game for a decade, cranking out R&B hits. Atlantic Records pushed him to broaden his sound, and he started blending gospel with more secular themes, like he did on I Got a Woman. That song caught the attention of white audiences, but it rubbed some black listeners the wrong way because of how it borrowed from gospel. By 1958, Ray was touring constantly with his band and backup singers, the Raylettes, and he started playing a Wurlitzer electric piano at shows, which other musicians weren't too keen on. His song, Nighttime is the Right Time, had already put him on the R&B charts, and What I Say took everything to the next level. It's hard to imagine just how much of an impact one little song would end up having on the whole world of music, and I wonder if Ray knew what he had on his hands, or if Bobby Parker knew that his adaptation would also lead to even more adaptations. We may never know. But one thing is for certain, and that is that this is one of the most iconic and influential riffs of all time. So there you have it. And this is merely one example of how much music has evolved over time, with countless genres bleeding into each other, borrowing, stealing, and inspiring so many others. This is what makes music so great, after all. The connection that it has amongst so many people from all walks of life and even throughout time. So let's take a moment to appreciate how far music has come.